Go live. Shalom Akayams. Shalom Akayams. Shalom to all the brothers out there. Shalom to all the systems out there. First, I want to give praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rikah, Kadash, Rikada, Kadash, Tawada, Amen. Double honors to the elders of GMS and all the brothers on the highways and byways bringing out the word in truth and spirit and sincerity. Okay, today we're live. We had a little bit of hiccups earlier on, but today we're live and we want to talk about the Akayams out there. We want to talk about Israelite. Today's edification is, as you can see, the title of the lesson today is what wisdom did for Adam, for Noah, for Abraham, Lot, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, and the Israelites. Yeah, it's a lesson that I was meant to have done yesterday, but like I said, we're here today to bring out this live broadcast to all the Akayams out there. So what are we talking about? We're going to start here in with the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 10, verse 1. Yeah? We're going to start at the very top. We're going to go through this and we're going to bring out some precepts to give you an understanding of what it is we're speaking of today. I hope you can hear me clearly out there. As you know, we was having some interference earlier. I pray that's not the case right now. So we can just get on with what we need to do. Yeah? So, without further ado, let's get into it. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 10, we're in chapter 10, verse 1, in the Apocrypha. So it says, she preserved the first formed father of the world that was created alone and brought him out of his fall. Right? And gave him power to rule all things. Okay? So who is that? So that's starting from the very beginning. This is Adam. So if we go to Genesis, let's bring it up in here. If we go to Genesis chapter 2. Genesis chapter 2. We bring out the precept for that. Here. And Adam gave names to all the cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not found an helpmeet for him. Okay? So at that time, Adam was alone. Eve hadn't been created yet from the dust of the earth. As remember what we said to you, what the word Adam means? Adawam, which means from the ground. Because Adam was taken from the ground. Adam was created from the ground. Okay? So, let's go back to the Wisdom of Solomon here. So that's Adam that we're speaking of here. Verse 3 it says, but when the unrighteous went away from her in his anger, he perished also in the fury wherewith he murdered his brother. So who is that talking about? That's talking about Cain. Cain that has the spirit of Esau. As we know, Esau was not born at this time yet, but it's the spirit we're dealing with. Cain was given the spirit of Esau. This is why when it says, but when the righteous went away from her in his anger, he perished also in the fury wherewith he murdered his brother. All right? Who is his brother? That was Abel. Same thing. The differences that was happening between Jacob and Esau. Because when Jacob had taken the birthright from Esau, which he sold to him for a pot of... It was a pot of, I forget what it was. It was Genesis 25. Let's just quickly bring it up. It was the same thing that happened there in Genesis 25. where Esau swore that he was going to kill his brother because of the, where is it down here? He sold there it is. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and I was prophet, shall the birthright be for me? And Jacob said, swear to me this day that you told me your birthright. And Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils. That's what it was, pottage of lentils. That's what he gave him, okay? So that's the same. That's the same thing that Cain, except, as you know, Esau promised to kill Jacob, that Cain had promised to his brother. So if we went to go to Genesis chapter 4, let's just put this up a bit. Genesis chapter 4, verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. Why did he slew him? Out of jealousy. Out of jealousy that Cain's offering to the Most High was more righteous than his brother Esau. When we look at what's going on today with Israel, the Israelites and the Edomites, you can see that the core of their hatred for us, these Edomites, is their jealousy. Just like how Cain was jealous of his brother Abel because Abel gave a more righteous offering to the Most High, to Yahweh, because he gave the first of his fruits and the first of his harvests and the first of his cattle, whereas Cain, as you know, gave anything. That jealousy, that hatred is still here today. This is why Esau, the Edomites, can so randomly and systematically commit crimes against the Israelites, no matter where we are in the world today. So that jealousy still exists today. That hatred still exists today, just so you understand. It says, for whose cause the earth being drowned with the flood, wisdom again preserved it, and directed the course of the righteous in a piece of wood of small value. Now, who's that talking about? That's talking about Noah. So remember, Noah spent 100 years. Remember, this is about wisdom, the wisdom of our forefathers, that we need to take on ourselves today in the name of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, to be able to spiritually defeat this so-called white man, the Edomites, in the hope that we receive salvation at the end of all of this. It's all about wisdom. We have to be wise. Remember the scripture says wisdom and knowledge is what? Is the stability of our times. Let's bring it out. Wisdom and knowledge. Wisdom and knowledge. It's then Isaiah. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times and the strength of our salvation. The fear of Yahweh is his treasure. So, this is why, that's Isaiah 33 and 6. This is why we're bringing this out. Because it's all about what it is. What is it that's going to bring us through this? It's our belief, our faith, and our belief in Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and that we are the Israelites, and through our works. And what's going to guide us through those things is the wisdom and knowledge. Wisdom and knowledge is the stability of our times, and that's what's going to guide us through. So let's go back to the wisdom of Solomon. I hope you brothers can hear me clearly out there, because we had a bit of difficulty earlier on today. So I hope that you guys can hear me out there. So, verse 4. For whose cause the earth being drowned with the flood, wisdom again preserved it. And that was the wisdom that Noah had. Noah was told by the Most High to build an ark. Told him exactly how to build the ark and what the ark should look like. Okay? So what we've got here is Noah's wisdom. Remember, how long did Noah spend to build that ark? Let's go to Genesis chapter 7. Genesis chapter 7. How long did our brother Noah spend to build that ark? He spent 100 years. So we'll go to Genesis 7. Hold on, I should tell you up here. It's a good month. Where is it? So Noah came through the house, and Noah said unto him, Come thou and all thy house into the ark. So we start here. And Yahweh said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation, because they were the only people considered righteous at the time. So the Lord had spoke to Noah through his angels, and Noah built an ark. So if we go down, verse 21, and all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle and of beasts and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man, and in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was dry in the dry land died. And every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping things and the fowls of the heavens, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. So, that's quite clear. That is quite clear that it was through his wisdom. When it says here, for those caused the earth being drowned with the flood, wisdom again preserved it and directed the course of the righteous in a piece of wood of small value. So that's what happened there. It was through Noah's wisdom why he built that ark. The Lord came to him, told him to build an ark. He spent 100 years building that ark on dry land. 100 years. He was 500 years old, I believe, Noah, when he started to build the ark. If we go to Genesis, it tells you here. And the Most High said unto Noah, the powers said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Okay, I hope you guys can hear me clearly out there. You're not getting any feedback or anything. If you're getting any feedback, just please let me know. Yeah? So, make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shall pitch it within and without with pitch. Okay? And this is what he did. He went on to build the ark. So that was through wisdom. That was the angel that came to Noah in the name of Yahweh Bashim Hawashai to tell him to build the ark. And he spent 100 years building the ark. And it should tell you down here. Hold on. It's not telling me clearly down here. Pretty shows me down here. I would know what it does tell you. Sons and his wife came on the ark. 7 days. Okay, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 7th day of the month, the same day, were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of the heaven were open. All right, so in the 600 years of Noah's life did that happen. And I think if we go back here, he was 600, tells you. And if we get 3 sons, Ham, Japheth, yep. It's not telling me there, but Noah was 500 years when he started to build the ark. Hold on. He was 500 years when he started to build this ark. Here it is. And Noah was 500 years old. So Genesis 5 verse 32. Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right, 500 years old. That's how old he was when he had his 3 sons. Okay, and that's when Noah started to build the ark. When the angel of the Lord came to him, right here, and it says, but Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh. These are the generations of Noah, a just man. Noah walked with the Most High, and Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. 500 years old when he begat those, when he had his children. Right? Obviously, different years. So Shem is the eldest, then Ham, then Japheth. The earth also was corrupted before the Most High, and the earth was filled with violence. And the Most High looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt of all flesh that was upon the earth. And the powers, which are the angels, said unto Noah, the Elohims, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. So, and then when we go to, where is it? So that was there. Yeah. So when we go down to here, Genesis 7 and 11, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 7th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. That's when it started to rain, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days. Yeah? So, wisdom. An angel came to Noah, and he spent 100 years building the ark. Wisdom led him to do that. So this is why when we came here, when we said wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability. It is core. It's the core foundation of the Israelites coming into this truth, and what's going to keep them in this truth, along with their faith, because their faith is going to be filled with wisdom and knowledge. Shall be the stability of thy times, and the strength of what? Of your salvation. Because ultimately, this is all about our salvation. For the fear of Yahweh is his treasure. Do we fear the Most High? Do we fear the destruction? Do we fear what's going to happen to the 2/3 of Israel? Do we fear what's going to happen to the Edomites? Do we fear what's happened to the other heathen nations? Because if we fear those things through our wisdom and our knowledge, that shall be the stability of our times. Just like our forefathers that took on that wisdom and that knowledge. Right? When they were showing, when angels would come to them at different times in their life, and through their faith and their belief, they did what was asked of them. So verse 5 says, go up some. Verse 5 says, moreover, the nations in their wicked conspiracy, being confounded, she found out the righteous and the preserved him blameless unto the Most High, and kept him strong against his tender compassion towards his son. So, go to Genesis 11 and 9. That'll be the precept for this. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because Yahweh did there confounded the language of all the earth, and from thence did Yahweh scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth. And who was doing that? That was Nimrod, building the Tower of Babel. You read it again. Moreover, the nations in their wicked conspiracy, what was they doing in their wicked conspiracy? Building the Tower of Babel. Being confounded, she found out, oops, let's bring it up here, sorry. Moreover, the nations in their wicked conspiracy, being confounded, she found out the righteous, and preserved him blameless unto the Most High, and kept him strong against his tender compassion towards his son. So this is what they were doing. This is what the wicked conspiracy was. They was trying to build a tower into heaven. There was no wisdom in that. The same thing what you see the Edomites doing today. building space stations out in space, putting satellites out in space, trying to send probes out to Mars, to Moon, talking about they want to go and explore the galaxy. That is the nations in their wicked conspiracy, because it's the nations that come together to do this. The Russians, the Chinese, right? And the Europeans and the Americans. They all work together to build these space stations out there. They want to go out into the stars. They've came up with the greatest lie to say they landed on the moon. There's no wisdom in that. There's no wisdom in them building their space stations out there. There's no wisdom in them sending out probes and satellites out there. There's no wisdom in them trying to go to these different planets, right? They've already came with a great conspiracy themselves by telling you that they landed on the moon. So just like what Nimrod was doing back then, building the Tower of Babel, when the nations all got together in their wicked conspiracy, they were being confounded. The same thing is happening today. The nations have all come together under one umbrella, calling themselves either the United Nations or NATO, on all of these space projects, trying to go out into space. Remember, Donald Trump spoke of this a few months ago, talking about building an army for space. So once again, they're confounded in their wicked conspiracy. So this is what they did back then. It's not different what they're doing today, just so you understand that. And this is why I say we have to learn from our forefathers. We have to learn about the wisdom and the stability, the wisdom and knowledge which shall give us the stability of our times, and it's the strength of our salvation. We have to learn from our forefathers, from their mistakes and from their righteous acts. We have to look at our past and learn from those mistakes. We have to also learn from the righteous acts that they did and understand how we today, through wisdom and knowledge, can continue to wake up into this truth. It says, when the ungodly perished, she delivered the righteous man who fled from the fire which fell down upon the 5 cities. Now, we know what that's talking about. Well, I hope you do. That's talking about what are the 5 cities? Sodom and Gomorrah. People always say it's 2 cities. It was 5 cities. It was 5 cities that was under that rulership of Sodom and Gomorrah that the Most High destroyed, sent his angels to Abraham to destroy. We go to Genesis chapter 22, will tell us about that. So those are the 5 cities. Genesis 22, verse 10. No, verse 10 and 1. That's when he tried to slay his son. Where was I? Let me go back here. When the ungodly perished, she delivered the righteous man. Okay, the righteous man that she delivered is talking about Abraham, which stretched forth his hand and was going to slay his son. And an angel came to Yahweh and called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here am I. And he said, lay not thy hand upon the lad, which was Isaac, our forefather, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest the Most High, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering instead of his son. All right? And Abraham called the place Yahweh Jireh, as it is said to this day, in the mount of Yahweh it shall be seen. All right? So let's quickly look at see what that word means. Yahweh, he is. Yahweh will see. And he did see. And he stopped Abraham. So this is when it says here, it says, when the godly shall be perished, she delivered the righteous man. That righteous man was Abraham, who fled from the fire which fell upon the 5 cities. Sorry, I'm getting confused here. This is talking about Lot. Verse 6 is talking about Lot, because I read this verse here thinking about Abraham which is that was pertaining to Abraham and Nimrod. But because I went into verse 6, I confused myself. So let me correct myself here. The wicked nations conspiracy is talking about Nimrod, the Tower of Babel. And when it says, and he preserved him blameless unto the Most High, and kept him strong against his tender compassion towards his son, that's talking about Abraham, what we just read here in Genesis 22. Yeah? When Abraham, Genesis 22 and 10, it says, and Abraham stretched forth his hand and took his knife to slay his son. And the angel of Yahweh called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, here am I. That is what that's talking about here when it says, and preserved him blameless unto the Most High, and kept him strong against his tender compassion towards his son. Let me correct myself. Yeah, I was confusing myself because I jumped to the next verse too quick. Verse 6 is referring about Lot. Verse 6 refers about Lot, and is it Genesis 19? Let me just see if we can find that. Yes, verse 6 is referring about Lot in Genesis 19. Okay. When the two angels came down, we'll start from the top here, but we'll jump down to verse, probably around verse 18, 19. So it says here, and there came two angels to Sodom at evening, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face towards the ground. And he said, behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go on your ways. And they said, nay, but we will abide in the streets all night. So those were the angels, yeah? So if you jump down to verse here. So this is when it talks about it says, behold, now thy servant has found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me in saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die. It says, behold, now this city is near to flee unto, and is a little one. Oh, let us escape thither, and my soul shall live. All right? And then it says, and he said unto him, see, I have accepted thee concerning this thing, also that I will not overthrow this city for that which thou hast spoken. So then when it goes down here, it talks about the destruction of the cities. Here. And it says, and he looked, and Sodom and Gomorrah, he looked towards Sodom and Gomorrah and towards all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when the angels, the Elohims, destroyed the cities of the plain, that the Elohim remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities which Lot dwelt. And that's when Lot fled out to Zoar, right, and dwelt in the mountains. So that talks about the destruction of those cities when they were destroyed by the angels. So it was through wisdom again that when the angels came to Lot, that Lot believed. He knew they were the angels of the Lord. Remember when those men they wanted to rape them, and they came to the house, and Lot offered him his daughters, and they refused his daughters who were virgins. They wanted those angels, right? Those homosexuals in Sodom and Gomorrah wanted to rape the two angels that came down to Lot's house, and they were blinded by the angels outside his house. Through wisdom, Lot went with the angels, took his children and his wife out of that city. But his wife, not through her wisdom, because she turned back and looked at the city when they would be destroyed, she wasn't so much concerned looking back because of the people. She was looking back because of the riches that she left back in the city. And that's why when she turned and the angel said they mustn't look back, she looked back and she was turned into a pillar of salt. That was her judgment, because she wasn't using her wisdom and knowledge that she was given. And it's funny because a lot of the times it is, the female that's bringing the man to one side. So Lot was wise enough with his two daughters not to look back. But that what I was talking about here. When the ungodly perished, he delivered the righteous man who fled from the fire which fell down upon the 5 cities. That righteous man was Lot. right? That took with his family, that fled the cities. Shalom to the Akiyams on the comment board. I hope this is coming out clear to you guys. If you're getting an interference or feedback, please let me know, because we had a bit of problems earlier setting up the live feed, yeah? So if it's coming up to clear and everything's okay, just give us a thumbs up, please. So, of those wickedness, even to this day, the wasteland that smoketh is a testimony, because the land of Sodom and Gomorrah is uninhabited. Nothing grows there. And the plants bearing fruit that never come to ripeness. Nothing grows there, just weed. Nothing grows in that land. And a standing pillar of salt is the monument of the unbelieving soul. Who is that unbelieving soul? What we just spoke about. That was Lot's wife. Lot's wife was that unbelieving soul. All right, that's why she turned back. She turned back because she couldn't believe that all the riches. Remember, Lot and Abraham were wealthy men. So it says, for regarding not wisdom, and that's why we go back again and we say wisdom and stability is wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times and the strength of salvation. That's what your faith is based on. What you know, your wisdom and your knowledge. That's what your faith is based on. Right? You believe. You don't need to see these things. It's like it says in the... we'll just quickly bring up another tab here. It says in 2 Corinthians... we spoke about this before. 2 Corinthians... Oops. Corinthians, I believe it's 6. 6. Faith, is it 6 or is it 5? We spoke about this before. Right, 5. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. For we walk by faith and not by sight. So when we tell you the stories of our forefathers, it's through faith that we believe, not through sight. Because we here today would only have been there back when we were, remember, we are just, this is just your body, your spirit has lived before. We are back here today in the reincarnation. Always remember that. We always come back in the 3rd and 4th generation of our family line. If you were a man, you come back a man. If you're a woman, you come back a woman. But we have no remembrance of our past lives. So we today, physically today, didn't see these things. We read about our forefathers. We read about what we did, how we did it. Yeah? We read about all those things. We wasn't, as you know, we have no remembrance of our past. But it's through our faith. For why? Because we walk by faith and not by sight. Why, when we speak of these stories about the wisdom, knowledge and understanding of our forefathers, of the wisdom that they use, that is the stability, that is the strength, that is the stability, that is the wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times today. And that's going to be the strength of our salvation. And also the fear, most importantly, the fear of Yahweh is his treasure. Because when we truly fear the Most High, we will do the things that are required of us. We will try to follow the laws, commandments and statutes to the best of our ability. Because we understand the wisdom of our forefathers. So we speak about these things. We tell our people the stories about our forefathers. So verse 8 says, for regarding not wisdom, they got not only this hurt, that they knew not the things which were good, but also left behind them to the world a memorial of their foolishness. Sodom and Gomorrah is a memorial of their foolishness. When it says there, it says that, and the plants bearing fruit that never come to ripeness, and a standing pillar of salt is a monument of an unbelieving soul. Now there was something, let me just show you, Lot's wife, pillar of salt. that was meant to have been found, the location, right? This was in the news the other day. Here it is here. So they say this here by the Dead Sea. Whoa, where is it going? They say is Lot's wife. This is the pillar of salt that was that is there today by the Dead Sea. If we go back out here, it says a pillar of salt named Lot's wife is located near the Dead Sea at Mount Sodom in Israel. The Mishnah states that a blessing should be said at the place where the pillar of salt is. Other pillars are said to be at the crossings of the Red Sea as well as the wall of Jericho. So they claim that this is the actual pillar of salt that was left from Lot's wife today. All right. We don't know 100% yay or nay, but where this is located, it has all the hallmarks of that being Lot's wife, because it's right by the Dead Sea at Mount Sodom in Israel. That's where the 5 cities were. That's where Lot was fleeing from, Sodom and Gomorrah. Remember, Sodom and Gomorrah was a place made up of 5 cities. So this is what they say today, and it's still there today. So when we read the scriptures, what does it says here? Verse 7 says, we read it again. Of those wickedness, even to this day, the wasteland that smoketh, which is Sodom and Gomorrah, which are the 5 cities, is a testimony. Why? And plants bearing fruit never come to ripeness. Never come to ripeness. Why is that? The sea is dead. Nothing lives in the Dead Sea. Algae and that. No fishes and that live in that Dead Sea. Are in that Dead Sea. Because the amount of salt that's in it, they can't survive it. And then it says, and a pillar of salt is a monument of an unbelieving soul. So a monument is something that is left behind. It's like this is what you call a monument. In today's language, you would say something that's been built. That's a monument to remember something. Someone's built a monument to remember. Let's quickly look up the word monument. Boy. No, come on. I want the word meaning. A statue, building, or a structure erected to commemorate a notable person or event. Right? To commemorate, to remember, a memorial. A simple stone monument marked the nearby crash site. A statue or a structure placed over a grave in memory of the dead. A gravestone, a headstone, a tombstone. Right? So that's what the word monument means. So what does the scripture says about Lot's wife? Excuse me. It says, and a standing pillar of salt is a monument of an unbelieving soul. So that monument, they say, is still there today, which the Bible speaks of. So it speaks of a monument being left behind of an unbelieving soul. That monument was Lot's wife. So the wisdom of Solomon has it in the scriptures here that there will be a monument. A pillar of salt is a monument of an unbelieving soul. This is the monument that they believe is Lot's wife. It's in the right location. It's in the Mount of Sodom in Israel, right next to the Dead Sea. It's a pillar of salt. Right? This is exactly what this is here. It's an actual pillar of salt, and they believe this is actually Lot's wife. So the Bible speaks of this monument being left behind. The Bible says, and a standing pillar of salt is a monument of an unbelieving soul, talking about Lot's wife. Alright, for regarding not wisdom, they gat not only this hurt, that they knew not the things which were good, because she looked back. The word monument, as we just looked, means what? A statue, building, or a structure erected to what? To commemorate a notable person or event. A simple stone monument marked the nearby crash site. That's just an example. It's a memorial, a statue or other structures placed over a grave in memory of the dead. So this is what's been left behind. And this is what they say is the monument of Lot's wife that's been there over 3,000 years. This pillar of salt here. And the scripture speaks of a monument being left behind of the unbelieving soul. So, verse 8 says, once again, for regarding not wisdom, they got not only this hurt, but they knew not the things which were good, which were good. Remember, why did she look back? She didn't look back because she was concerned about the people. She looked back because throughout having no wisdom and the knowledge that was given to her, she didn't take it on board by the angels. She was looking back at all the victuals that was left behind, all of the riches, all of the sheep, the cows, the lambs, the goats, all of Lot's victuals. Remember, Lot and Abraham were considered the richest men at the time back then. Remember when they split up, Abraham said to Lot, choose which way you want to go, east or west, which part of land you want. Lot said, I'll go that way. Abraham said, okay, I'll go the opposite way, because their men was infighting over all of the riches that they had amongst them. So Abraham gave Lot half of his riches and he went his way, and that's how Lot ended up in Sodom and Gomorrah. Because of that. So, this is just a memorial to remind us of what happened to those of our ancestors that did not take the wisdom and the knowledge that was brought to them at the time by the angels to flee the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, the 5 cities, and do not look back. The angel specifically said to them, do not look back. So verse 9 says, so we finished verse 8. So it says, but also left behind them to the world, you see, a memorial of their foolishness. So the Bible says there will be a memorial left behind to the world of their foolishness. That memorial is still there today. Sodom and Gomorrah is a barren land. Why do you think they call it the Dead Sea? Because nothing lives in it. The Dead Sea is right by the 5 cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. The memorial, as we say, we believe is this that's been there for over 3,000 years. So, as well as Sodom and Gomorrah itself, the land is barren. Nothing grows there. Nothing grows there. That's the memorial. The Dead Sea, the actual land where the 5 cities were, Sodom and Gomorrah. And to be even more specific, you've got the pillar of salt that they believed to be Lot's wife. Now, it says, so that in the things wherein they offended, they could not so much as be hid. So the Lord wanted these things to be there today. The things that offended the Most High. The reason why he sent the angels down, as we spoke of in Genesis 19, to destroy the 5 cities. It says it right here. I went past it, sorry. And he looked towards Sodom and Gomorrah and towards all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. So, it's quite clear there what happened to those 5 cities, and why the Lord said that he will leave it as a memorial, but also left behind to them to the world, for the whole world to see, a memorial of their foolishness, that same foolishness that they did today. This whole world has the spirit of homosexuality, from the east to the west to the north to the south. Every country is infected with the spirit of homosexuality. The same things why the Lord destroyed all of the 5 cities of Sodom and Gomorrah and only 3 people walked out alive. Well, 4 walked out alive, but only 3 survived it because Lot's wife looked back. And this is why when we always go back to when the Lord talks about salvation, when he says that the righteous are scarcely saved. It all, when we read the stories of our forefathers, of Noah, of what happened to the days of Noah, what happened to Lot in the 5 cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, it all makes sense. The piece of the puzzle all come together. When the Lord said, I think it's in Romans, he says, and the righteous shall scarcely, I believe it's in Romans. Quickly bring it up here. Peter's. It says, and if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? So you understand how that we must take on this wisdom. We must truly clothe ourselves in this wisdom and this knowledge, because it truly is the stability of our times and the strength of our salvation. Because even Peter makes it clear here, and if the righteous scarcely be saved, scarcely, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? So once again, back in the wisdom of Solomon. Remember, these are Solomon's words. King Solomon wrote the book, The Wisdom of Solomon. Okay? He says, but wisdom delivered from pain those that attended upon her. All right? Those that attended upon her, it delivered from pain. So those that took on that knowledge, with the wisdom, it became a stability, and it did what? It delivered them from pain. In Proverbs chapter 1, I think it's verse 21 I want. 20. It says, wisdom cries without. She utters her voice in the streets. She cries in the chief place of the concourse. So when you see the brothers on the highways and byways, that's what they are doing. Through their wisdom and their knowledge, they are crying in the chief place of the concourse. What's the chief place of the concourse? Back in the Greeks, they called it the marketplace. Agora, they call it agora. It was called the agora. The Greeks called it the agora, the marketplace, where everyone came to buy and sell and to trade and so forth. Today, we call it your shopping malls, your shopping centres, your high roads, your retail parks, all the places where most people come to congregate to buy and sell. So when it says here, wisdom, she cries in the chief place of the concourse, that is what, when you see the brothers on the highways and byways, this is exactly what they are doing. They are crying in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates. In the city, she utters her words, saying, and this is what the brothers are doing. This is what, even when we're on the YouTube doing a live stream, this is what we are trying, this is what we are doing. We are saying, how long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Because too many of our people love simplicity. They love the status quo. And when you give them the truth, they do what? They start to scorn you. Why? Because fools hate knowledge. What did Isaiah say? Wisdom and knowledge is the stability of our times, and strength of salvation, the fear of Yahweh is his treasure. Too many of our people love simplicity. So when we give them the truth of these scriptures, they begin to scorn you. And it's only through our wisdom and knowledge and through our faith why we, through the Holy Spirit, have an understanding of the scriptures, and why we're trying to bring this knowledge to our people, to wake up the 1/3, the elect of Israel. Because only then will the Lord Once he's heard all the cries of Israel, will the Most High then get the angel to blow the trumpet to call his son? Because remember what the Most High said. He said he showed everything. His son knows everything. Showed all things to his son. But there's only one thing our Lord and Savior, Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, does not know. There's only one thing in this whole universe, in this whole omnipresent universe, all the planets, the stars on this planet Earth, there's only one thing the Lord, Yahweh, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, does not know. That thing is what? Is the day that his Father is going to send him to come to bring salvation to the children of Israel and judgment to the Edomites and the other nations. That's the only thing he doesn't know. He does not know when the day of judgment is. Only one person, one being, one spirit knows the day of judgment. And that's Yahweh, the Most High. No one else knows that. No one. Not the Son, not the angels, not the prophets. Nobody knows that day. Everyone knows it's coming, but nobody knows that day but the Father. Remember what he said? For that day shall come what? Let's go to 2 Peter's, I believe I want. Chapter 3. Down here it says, 2 Peter's chapter 3 verse 10. It says, but the day of the Lord, Yahweh, will come as a thief in the night. So when a thief is broken in your house in the night, he doesn't send you a postcard and say, look, I'm coming to Saturday night at 2:30 in the morning. Yeah? So just make sure you've left the back door open for me so I can come and rob your yard. No one knows when the thief is coming. Because that's how the Lord is coming, like a thief in the night. And this is why when we go back again and we say what? Wisdom and knowledge is the stability of thy times and what? The strength of salvation. Because this is the day of salvation. When the Lord comes as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that therein shall be burnt up. Meaning that we're going to be in a World War III. That's the only indication we know that we're going to be in World War III. That's why the scripture says, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what's going to dissolve them? Nuclear fallout. What manner of persons ought you to be in holy conversation and godliness, looking for, and this is why I say, as frightening as it may be to many people, that World War III is coming, that there's going to be destruction, that billions, not millions, but billions, that's with the B, are going to die. Men, women and children, grandpa, grandfather. It's going to be a destruction that this world has never seen, never, and will never see again. It's going to be a time. Oh, I tell you, if people can truly vision, I always say that there's certain movies that you can look at. There's a movie called The Road. Right? If you watch the movie called The Road, you'll have an understanding of how this thing's going to turn out. Movies like the one with Denzel Washington, where he's trying to bring the Bible, the scriptures to this man. I forget what it's called again. But that gives you kind of a visual understanding of what's going on. This is why the next verse says, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. What's going to do that? ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missiles. This is why it says we should be looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day. Because only then will all of this wickedness that covers the four corners of the earth, the corruption, the lying, the murdering, the pillaging, the rape, all of the wickedness that the Edomites, Esau did to the Israelites, the Native American Indians, what they did to them, what they did to the African Americans and Caribbeans in the transatlantic slave trade, how they enslaved the indigenous people of North, South America and Canada, today who they call Latinos, Hispanics and Puerto Ricans. The wickedness that they did, the depths of their crimes will have to be answered for on the day of judgment. There is no escaping. The reason why there are so many people on this planet today I've said this before. In the year 1910, we had 1 billion people on this whole planet. 1 billion. 100 years later, there are 7.5 billion. It's increased by 7-fold. You think that's not for a reason that the Lord made? Because all of the spirits, all of those people that committed those crimes are going to be here. Are going to be here today, living when the judgment comes. The Most High is making sure all of those spirits are going to be alive. All of them. All of the Edomites that was involved in the transatlantic slave trade. All of the Edomites that lived lusciously over the transatlantic slave trade. All of those that benefited from white supremacy. That benefited from all of these systems, these global systems that are all based on the white supremacy, the enrichment of white people, that saw them destroy the people of color, more so the children of Israel. All of those that left Europe and came to the Americas as pilgrims and murdered and pillaged and raped and took all the land from the Native American Indians and put them in reservations, and they were living lusciously, taking the free land. All of them are going to pay for their crime because they are all complicit in the destruction of our people. And nothing has changed. They've just got more sophisticated with their destruction of our people. Today they're just shooting young black men down the streets like it's no tomorrow in America. They're all going to pay for their crimes. So this is why I say once again, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times, the children of Israel. And that's going to be the strength of our salvation. So, verse 10 says, when the righteous fled from his brother's wrath, she guided him in his right's path, showed him the kingdom of the Most High, right? And gave him knowledge of holy things, made him rich in his travels, and multiplied the fruits of his labor. In the covetousness of such as oppressed him, she stood by him and made him rich. When it talks about she, it's referring to wisdom. When it says, as such as oppressed him, she stood by him, it's talking about wisdom. This is why when we go to Proverbs 1, it says, wisdom cries without. She utters her voice in the streets. It's referred to her as she. It's a metaphor. Just so you understand. That's why it says she cries. It's not talking about women going out on the highways and byways, because as you know, the women should not be out on the highways and byways bringing out the word of the Lord. It is the work of the men of Israel. So when it says she cries in the chief corner place, it's talking about wisdom, the wisdom of those young men and those older men on the highways and byways. They're crying in the chief place of the concourse, in what today we call the shopping malls and the high streets and the main streets, and all the different places where we congregate together. In the openings of the gates, in the city, she, which is wisdom, utters her words, saying, like I said, how long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? How long before they wake up? And absolutely, what a sight that day will be. That day is going to be a day, it's going to be a day that this earth has never seen before. The Bible speaks of that quite categorically. It's a day that this earth has never seen before. So it says, in the covetousness of such as oppressed him, she stood by him and made him rich. So we were oppressed by these Edomites. We are being oppressed by them today. But the Lord is standing by what? By the remnant. By the remnant, because remember what he says, he's coming back for the remnant of Israel. So when it says, in the covetousness of such as oppressed him, she stood by him and made him rich. She stood by him. What are we rich in? We are rich by having what? Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times and the strength of our salvation. Right? The fear of Yahweh is his treasure. You understand? The fear of the Lord, I read it verbatim, is his treasure. So when Solomon says here, in the covetousness of such as oppressed, right? That's us. We are the ones that are oppressed. Him she stood by and made him rich. We are rich because we have the Lord. We are the most spiritual people on this planet Earth. In Jamaica alone, as wicked as my parents are Jamaican, right? I've been to Jamaica many times. As wicked as those Jamaicans can be amongst one another in the island, Jamaica spiritually, right? Just to give an example, the country of Jamaica has the most churches, and most of those churches, as you know, are preaching plantation Christianity. So don't get this twisted, but I'm just trying to show you on a spiritual level, has more churches per square mile than anywhere on this planet Earth. For those that may not have known that, in Jamaica, it has more churches and congregations per square meter, per square mile than anywhere on this planet Earth. But the problem with our people in those churches, what is it? They have, what did Paul say? It's in, let's quickly pull it out here. It's in Corinthians. Let me just type it in. It'll get it for me. It's in 2 Corinthians. No, Romans, sorry. It's Romans I'm thinking of. It's Paul, but it's Romans. It says, so in Romans chapter 10, verse 2, it says, for I bear them record that they have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. And that is our people in a nutshell in those churches. Because they be in there singing all day long, hallelujah, hallelujah. And then you'll have those that are shaking like they're having a fit, an epileptic fit while they're walking and saying they can feel the spirit on them and everything. And then you have those that are clapping and clapping and clapping and clapping and clapping, and those that are stamping and stamping and stamping and stamping their feet, right? They have a zeal. No other people but our people have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. Because what they are teaching in those churches is what? Plantation Christianity. So whether they're in America, whether they're in England, whether they're on the continent, still on the continent of the west coast of Africa, whether they're in the West Indies, in Jamaica, Antigua, Barbados, the majority of our people have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. And then when we bring them this knowledge, in its truth and spirit and sincerity, they're scared because they are of the world. The world has taught them white Jesus. The world has taught them that the Lord is coming to save anybody and anyone that believes in them. The world has taught them that all nations are equal. But the Bible speaks opposite to every one of those things that the world has taught them. But it's just like what Paul says. Paul says what? He says you can't, let's get it out here. I think it's Matthew's, but let's just new wine. It's just quick if I do this. Paul says, sorry, Matthew says, right here, and no man putteth new wine into, let's go up a bit here. Up here one. No, this is fine here. It says, and no man putteth new wine into old bottles, else the new wine does burst the bottles, and the wine is spilled, and the bottles will be marred. But new wine must be put into new bottles. And that's the problem with our people. We're trying to put new wine into old bottles. So when we're trying to give them this truth, it's all new to them. They've never heard this. They've never heard that in the Bible, the Lord said He creates good and He creates evil. They've never heard this because the majority of our people have never actually read and studied the Bible. They go to churches, they sing, they dance, they shake, they do all sorts of things. They get read 1 or 2 scriptures from the pastor. They put money in a pot for him, and then they go home and think they've done their duty. They've never ever took the time out to actually sit down themselves and read the Bible and get an understanding of the words that they're reading in the etymology, to get in the root meaning of those words in the original languages that they were written in the Greek and the Hebrew. For remember, the Bible was first written in Hebrew. The New Testament was first written in Hebrew. but it was translated from the Hebrew into the Greek. Why? Because we had so many Israelites that were Hellenized under Antiochus. So they were raised as Greeks. Just like how today, if you're living in a country speaking the English language, you're raised to speak that language. Anyone can be a citizen of a country, but it doesn't mean you're of that nation. If I move to China and have children in China, my children can become citizens of China, but they will never be Chinese, aka Moabites, because they are of a particular nation. Just like how anyone can't be an Israelite, only through the seed. So this is why we know only Israel can receive salvation. And on judgment, it's only going to be the elect of Israel, which means the chosen. And that's why, once again, Isaiah says, knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of thy times, and what? The strength of your salvation. So, verse 11, he says, in the covetousness of such oppressed him, she stood by him and made him rich. She defended him from his enemies. That's what wisdom did. Defended the Israelites from their enemies. All right? And kept him safe from those that lay in wait. And in sore conflict she gave him the victory, that he might know that goodness is stronger than all. So, this goes back to Jacob. I mean, even this here, it's speaking of Jacob. Because the Israelites, when they were oppressed under the Egyptians, and Jacob was the one that first brought down the 70 souls that he speaks of that came down into Egypt during the times of the famine. It says here, when the righteous was sold, she forsook him not, but delivered him from sin. She went down with him into the pit. So, who is that? That's Jacob's son, Joseph. Remember what his brothers did through their wickedness, I'll tell you. But they were his brothers. But it was all meant to be, just so you understand. All that was meant to be. They sold him. They sold him. But they didn't actually sell him. They left him in a pit. And it was some Arab slave traders that found him in the pit and sold him to the Egyptians. So if we was to go to Genesis 37, I believe it tells you more about that story. That's what that's talking about. So these are lessons that we truly, these are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding his flock with his brethren, and his lad with the sons of Bilhah, and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wife. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. And remember, they were envious of their brother Joseph, right? The rest of the brothers. But Joseph was Israel, who is Jacob. Now, Israel loved Joseph. He was his favorite, more than all his children. Now, it doesn't matter. I don't care what anyone says. If you've got 6, 7 kids, and remember, Jacob had 13 children, 12 sons and 1 daughter. His daughter's name was Dinah. Everyone has a favorite. When you say you love that one more than the other, it's not so much he would not put his life on line for any of his other sons. He just had a favorite, one that reminded him of himself, one that he could see many great things in. That was Joseph. That was Israel's favorite, Jacob's favorite, his son Joseph. And because his son was of an old age, he made him a coat of many colors. And that's where you get that show that they call Joseph and the Technicolor coats. So, and it speaks of here, it talks about, because remember, Joseph could read people's dreams. He would have dreams, and he had visions and dreams, so forth, and he could interpret people's dreams. So this is the son that they sold into, that the brothers got rid of when they went out hunting with, as everyone knows the story with. I just want to quickly find the part. Here it is. It says here, came to his presence. Here it is. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, his other brothers, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat. I tell you, us Israelites, man, we're something else. His coat of many colors that was on him, And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead, and with their camels, bearing spiceries and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, what profit is it if we slay our brother? Because first they wanted to kill him and conceal his blood. Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him. For he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midianite merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. So that's how Joseph ended up in Egypt. His brothers put him in a pit. First they wanted to kill him, and they wanted to sell him, but they just left him. And it was Midianites, merchantmen, that found him in the pit and took him out and sold him to the Ishmaelites, the Arabs, and then they brought him down into Egypt. And then they sold him to Potiphar, was an Egyptian captain in the army that they sold him to. So this is what that's speaking about here. When it says, and they left him not in bonds till she brought him, 13, it says, when the righteous was sold, she forsook him not. So the Most High didn't forsake Joseph, even though what happened to him when he was sold, but delivered him from his sin. She went down with him into the pit. So it was the Lord that made those Midianites go past that pit to drag him out, to sell him to the Ishmaelites, because the Lord had, I'm trying to find the right word to use. He had work for Joseph to do. Some important work, some seriously important work. Joseph was going to play a major part in the Lord's plans. He had plans for Joseph. So these things had to happen. So even then, Joseph didn't lose his wisdom and his knowledge, because he knew that is going to be what? The stability of his salvation. In that pit, Joseph's wisdom and knowledge was what? Shall be the stability of his times. And that was the strength of his salvation. So for him to survive what his brothers did to him, he had to keep his wits about him and his knowledge, his wisdom, what he learnt from his father. He didn't disregard it and throw it all away. So, and they left him in bonds till she brought him the scepter of the kingdom and power against those that oppressed him. So remember, Joseph ended up in jail because the person that he was sold to, the captain, his wife, accused Joseph of committing adultery with her, saying that he was trying to sweet talk her and entice her and take her away, and he was romancing with her. And that comes further, I think it tells you in, 38. Let me just see, is it down here? Or was it still in 37? It might be still in 37 at the bottom. He sold him. That's who he sold him to, Potiphar, the officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guard. So it was Potiphar's wife that accused Joseph of adultery, saying that he was trying to romance her. There it is. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And if we go down further, and it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. So you see what the wicked woman done? She wanted to have an affair with Joseph, but Joseph knew that was an unrighteous act. He knew that was the act of adultery was an unrighteous act. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. So Joseph ran from her, but she caught piece of his garment. Joseph knew from what he learnt from his father, the wisdom and knowledge that his father had learnt him. He knew that was an unrighteous act for him to lie down with another man's wife. And it came to pass that she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of the house and spake unto them, saying, see, he has brought in an Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me. And I cried with a loud voice. What a lying wicked woman. But she was an Egyptian. She was a Hamite. So she lied. That's how Joseph ended up in prison. So when it speaks of here, and it says, and left him not in bonds till she brought him the scepter of the kingdom. Because he ended up in prison, and then he was telling the dreams of those men in prison, and through that he was released from prison. As it says, the keeper of the prison looked not to say anything that was under his hand, because Yahweh was with him, and that he did what the Lord made him prosper. Let me go up a few verses. And Joseph's master took him and put him into prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in prison. And Yahweh was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor, right, in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did here, he was the doer of it. So that's when they said the Lord didn't give up on him. Didn't give up on him. And he was able to read their dreams. And the Pharaoh was wroth against his two officers and against the chief butler and against the chief of the bakers. And he put them in the prison with them. And they was all in prison with Joseph, his chief butler and his chief baker. And he was telling them the dreams. And the whole story's in here basically in that. And then it tells you how he was freed from prison because he was able to interpret. It says, look, when the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 white baskets on my head. So he was able to tell their dreams. And that's when Joseph was finally relieved from prison. Let me just see if it tells you right here. Came in the morning, magicians. That's what he tells me about. That's what he tells me about him being in prison. Pharaoh sent and called Joseph and brought him in hastily. He was able to read the Pharaoh's dream. He told him about the 7 years of famine and the 7 years of good harvest. Goes down here. This is the whole story. And sent him. And this is it here when it says there, let Pharaoh do this and let him appoint officers over the land and take up the 5th part of the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous years. He's going to have 7 years of good harvest and 7 years of bad. And then I think down here, here it is here. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, for as much as the Most High, as the powers have showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and wise as thou art. So that was the wisdom of Joseph. Joseph was always able to read and interpret dreams. That's why his brothers disliked him, because he had that specialness about him. That's why his dad loved him more. Jacob loved him more than the others. All right? Not meaning that he would do anything more for his son than the others, but he just had this special bond with that boy. It says, thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. So only the Pharaoh was higher than Joseph in the land of Egypt. So this is when it speaks of here, when it says, and he left him not in bonds. So the Most High didn't leave Joseph in jail till she brought him the scepter of the kingdom. So how did he get the scepter of the kingdom? We just read it right here. And Pharaoh took his ring from his hand, and he put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the 2nd chariot which he had, that they cried before him, bowed the knee, and he made him ruler over all Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am the Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. So he became the 2nd in command. Can you imagine? From ended up being in a pit, to being found by Midianites, to being sold to Ishmaelites, to the Ishmaelites selling him to an Egyptian captain, from being accused by the Egyptian captain's wife of trying to rape her, from going to prison. What does it remind you of? It kind of reminds you of the Central Park 5. When you kind of think of it, what they went through as children, but they didn't lose their faith. And I'm not saying that they all was dealing with Yahweh Shai, but they didn't lose their faith. They were praying. They may not even known at that time who they were praying to, but they didn't lose their faith, Central Park 5. And they kind of went through a similar journey, from going in prison to coming out to being exonerated. So we must learn from our forefathers, because that is the stability of our times. It says, as for them that had accused him, she showed them to be liars and gave him perpetual glory. So the Most High exposed the lies that were spoke of against Joseph and gave him that perpetual glory. He became second in command to Pharaoh. Joseph did not lose his wisdom or his knowledge, because he knew that was going to be what? That was going to be the stability of the strength of his salvation, of getting out of that predicament that he was being put in by his own brothers. She delivered the righteous people and blameless seed from the nation that oppressed them. That's talking about what? The Exodus. Who were the people that oppressed them? The Egyptians. Who were delivered? The children of Israel. The Most High didn't come into Egypt and said, all the other nations that the Egyptians had under captivity, like the Hittites, maybe some of the Philistines, all the different nations that they were going to war with at the time, that they would have had under subjection in in Egypt. The Most High did not come to Moses and said, I'm sending you to deliver the other nations along Egypt, along the children of Israel. No, he said to Moses, you're coming to deliver my people, the Israelites, the children of Israel. But when Israel fled Egypt, the other nations tagged along. They knew it was their time to escape the injustice. So that's what they did. They just tagged along with Israel. But the Most High did not send Moses to deliver any other nation out of Egypt. So the same thing that happened then is going to happen now. He's only sending his angels and his son, Yahushua, to deliver the elect of Israel. Back then in Egypt, all of the Israelites were delivered. Every single Israelite that was in Egypt was delivered. And then other nations tagged on. For well, this is the time we can escape our oppression, our slavery under the Egyptians, is when the Israelites are going to flee. But the Most High did not send his son, Yahushua, the angels, to deliver any other person out of Egypt at the time. When Moses came, along with his brother Aaron, they came to bring the words to the Pharaoh, talking about delivering and freeing the Israelites, not any other nation. So nothing's changed back then that is now. And this is why I say it once again. Our people have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. They don't understand that the Lord is only coming to deliver the elect of Israel. Only. So it says here, she delivered the righteous people and blameless seed from the nation that oppressed them, which were the Egyptians. She entered into the soul of the servant of the Lord and withstood dreadful kings in wonders and signs. Those were the 10 plagues, right? If you go to Exodus 5 and 1, those are the 10 plagues. And afterwards, Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, thus says Yahweh, the power of Israel, let my people go. He didn't say, can you also let the Hittites go, and the Hivites, and the Philistines, and the Jebusites, and the Girgashites, and all the other nations that the Egyptians would have had under captivity at the time. He didn't come to deliver them. He only come to deliver the children of Israel. The same thing that's going to happen on the day of judgment and salvation. He's only coming to deliver the elect of Israel. The only difference between then and now, back then, all of Israel was delivered. Now, it's only going to be the elect. 2/3 of Israel are going to die during the destruction that's coming. It says that they may what? Hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. That's the great Passover. So, just a few more verses here. It says, render to the righteous a reward of their labors, guided them in a marvelous way, and was unto them for a cover by day and a light of stars in the night season. We always tell you that what was covering them as a pillar of cloud by day, right? And a light of stars fire by night was a chariot. Today, what they call UFOs. Those are the Lord's chariots, right? That's what the angels come in. And we believe, because when you go to Psalms, I think it is Psalms 51, that it was Yahushua's chariot that actually delivered them out of Israel. I think it's in Psalms, let's quickly find it. It's Psalm 68. I'm nearly finished, just stay with me, people. Yeah, Psalm 68. So in Psalm 68, verse 17, it says, the chariots of the Most High, of the angels, are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord, who is Yahweh, is among them, as in Sinai, in the holy place. And in Sinai, it's talking about the great deliverance, right? The Exodus. So this is what he speaks of here. When it says, was unto them as a cover by day and a light of stars by night. Brought them through the Red Sea and led them through much water. But she drowned their enemies and cast them up out of the bottom of the deep. Because those were the Egyptians that came after them after they'd let them go. It says, therefore the righteous spoiled the ungodly. So the righteous spoiled the ungodly. When the Israelites were crying out, when there was so much of them crying out for the Lord to deliver them out of their injustice, that's when the Lord woke up Moses out of his sleep. Remember, Moses was raised by the Egyptians, spent 40 years being raised by an Egyptian. The Lord woke him out of that sleep and made him remember that he was an Israelite. Made him find his brothers and his sister and his mother. When he saw another Israelite being beaten by an Egyptian, what did Moses do? Moses attacked him and killed him. That's when Moses was awoken out of that sleep. It says, therefore the righteous spoil the ungodly and praise the holy name, O Lord, and magnified with one accord. Thine hand fought for them. Right? That's the Israelites. I'm talking about the children of Israel now. in their deliverance from Israel. From Egypt, sorry. So we go to Exodus 15. This is what he's speaking about here. It says, then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto Yahweh, and spake, saying, I will sing unto Yahweh, for he has what? Triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider has he thrown into the sea. The Lord Yahweh is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. We go back to that same word again. Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times, and what? The strength of our salvation. So this is why I say that we need to take on all of those things today and understand that through our faith, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times and the strength of our salvations. So this is the song that they sang. It said, the Lord Yahweh is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. He is my power, Elohim, and I will prepare him an habitation, my father's power, and I will exalt him. And that's what we do today. We exalt the Lord through the highways and byways and on YouTube and every other streaming platform that we can find to exalt his name, to wake up the children of Israel. It says what? It says the Lord Yahweh is a man of war. Yahweh is his name. So he is a man of war. And what is he coming on the day of judgment? He's coming for war, for salvation and for war. That's what he's coming for. He's coming to rule what? He's coming to rule them with a rod of iron. And these are the things that our Christian plantation, Christianity churches can't understand. Why? Because we bear record that they have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. They don't understand that the Most High is a man of war. He's coming to deliver the Israelites with salvation. He sent his son, but he is also coming to have a war to put them to their knees. The Edomites and all the other heathen nations that join side by side to destroy the children of Israel and to steal their heritage. So it says, for wisdom opened the mouth of the dumb and made the tongues of them that cannot speak eloquent. So, I just really wanted that people to get a true understanding of what this wisdom and knowledge is about and what this faith is about. That if we look to the stories of our forefathers, if we delve into the scriptures and read about the tribulations of our forefathers, the things that they went through, the wisdom and knowledge that they had, the faith that they had in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, that delivered them through their times, we'll understand that this is what we need to do today. We need to do those same things today to stay on track, to stay with this truth. Don't be distracted from it, because mainstream media And all of the other powers that be are going to try to demonize us because we are bringing out this truth in spirit and sincerity. The Most High said, what did the Lord say? You must serve him in what? In truth and spirit. In truth, I think it's John 4, truth and spirit. And this is what we're doing. But this is what destroying Esau. It says, the Most High is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. That's John 4 and 24. And this is what we are doing. We are bringing out the word of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai in spirit, right? Through the Holy Spirit and in truth. We are not trying to pretty this up for anybody. We are not trying to leave out anything. We are letting you know exactly who it is you're dealing with. And once again, we tell you straight here, the Lord is a man of war. The Lord, Yahweh, is his name. He is coming for war and he is coming for salvation. And we don't care what the mainstream media, how much they demonize us. We are going to continue doing this one thing. We are going to worship the Most High as a spirit. And they that worship him, because we worship Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, must worship him in spirit and in truth. So, on that note, I'd like to say, give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim. I'd like to say shalom to the Akiyams. Keep up the faith to the brothers and the sisters that tuned in live and those that will tune in later once the live stream has been finished. I pray that this was an edifying video to the Native American Indians, to the Latinos, Hispanics and Puerto Ricans, who are the indigenous people of North, South America and Canada, to the African Americans and the Caribbeans, who are the descendants from the transatlantic slave trade, who are living all throughout the Americas, Canada, South America, North America, and that was scattered to the four corners of the world. I pray that this was an edifying lesson to you and a waking up that this wisdom and knowledge is the stability of our times. And now faith and belief, because we walk by faith and not by sight, that we must hold on to our faith and our belief, because that is the road to salvation. Right? All praises to the elect of Israel. Shalom, Makayams. Shalom. Coming to the end here. Shalom, Makayams.